Hello children, Rajam and Money by R.K. Narayan. Have you ever been caught in the crossfire of a fight between two of your friends? Read this extract from the famous novel Swami and Friends to find out how Swami copes with a similar situation. River Saryu was the pride of Malgudi. It was some 10 minutes' walk from Ilaman Street, the last street of the town, chiefly occupied by oilmongers. Its sandbanks were the evening resort of all the people of the town. The municipal president took any distinguished visitor to the top of the town hall and proudly pointed to him the Saryu in the moonlight, glistening like a silver belt across the north. The usual evening crowd was on the sand. Swaminathan and Mani sat aloof on a river step, with their legs dangling in water. The peepal branches overhanging the river rustled pleasantly. A light breeze played about the bogs and scattered stray leaves on the gliding stream below. Birds filled the air with their cries. Far away near Nalappa's mango grove, a little downstream, a herd of cattle was crossing the river, and then a country cart, drawn by bullocks, passed, the cartman humming a low tune. It was some 15 minutes past sunset, and there was a soft red in the west. The water runs very deep here, doesn't it? Mani said. Why, Mani asked. Yes, why? I am going to bring Rajam near here, bundle him up, and throw him into the river for a good drenching. Rajam was a fresh arrival in the first A. He had sauntered into the class on the reopening day of the second term, walked up to the last bench, sat beside Mani, and felt very comfortable indeed till Mani gave him a jab in the ribs, which he returned. He had impressed the whole class on the very first day. He was a newcomer. He dressed very well. He was the only boy in the class who wore socks and shoes, fur cap and tie, and a wonderful coat and knickers. He came to school in a car. As well as all these, he proved to be a very good student too. There were vague rumors that he had come from some English boys' school somewhere in Madras. He spoke very good English, exactly like a European, which meant that few in the school could make out what he said. Many of his classmates could not trust themselves to speak to him, their fund of broken English being small. Only Shankar, the genius of the class, had the courage to face him. Thought his English sounded halting and weak before that of Rajam. This Rajam was a rival to Mani. He behaved with Mani with a certain nonchalance with Mani, which Mani was not used to. If Mani jabbed, Rajam jabbed. If Mani clouted, he clouted. If Mani kicked, he kicked. If Mani was the overlord of the class, Rajam seemed to be nothing less. And add to all this the fact that Rajam was a regular 70%er. Second only who to Shankar, there were sure indications that Rajam was the new power in the class. Day by day as Mani looked on, it was becoming increasingly clear that a new menace had appeared in his life. All this lay behind his decision on the river step to bundle up Rajam and throw him into the river. Swaminathan expressed a slight fear. You forget that his father is the police superintendent. Mani remained silent for a while and said, What do I care? Some night I am going to kick his shoulders and show him what can I do with my clubs. I would keep out of the way and that reminds me, he added, you are in need of a little warning. I find you hanging about that Rajam a bit too much. Well, have a care for your limbs. That is all I can say. Swaminathan broke into loud protestations. Did Mani think that Swaminathan could respect anyone but him? Mani, the dear old friend and guide. What made him think so? As far as Swaminathan could remember, he had never been within 3 yards of Rajam. Oh, how he hated him! When had Mani seen him with Rajam? Oh yes, It must have been during the drawing period on Monday. It was Rajam who had come and talked to him in spite of the cold face that Swaminathan had turned to him. He had wanted a pencil sharpener, which he did not get, as he was promptly directed to go to a shop and buy if he needed it so urgently. Oh, there was no comparison between Rajam and money. This pleased Mani greatly. For the first time that evening he laughed, and laughed heartily too. And then he suddenly asked, "Did you bring the thing that I wanted?" "Oh, Mani, I beg 100 pardons of you. My mother was all the time in the kitchen. I could not get it. It referred to lime pickles." "You are coward. Oh, this river bank and the fine evening. How splendid it would have been." Now, next scene comes. Swaminathan was to act as a cord of communication between Rajam and Mani. They were sitting on the last bench with their backs against the yellow wall. Swaminathan sat between Rajam and Mani. Their books were before them on the desks, but their minds were busy. Mani wrote on a piece of paper, "Are you a man?" and gave to the Swaminathan, who pushed it across to Rajam, putting on as offensive a look as possible. Rajam read it, crumpled it, and threw it away, at which Mani wrote another note repeating the question, with the addition, "You are a fool if you don't answer this," and pushed it across. Rajam hissed into Swaminathan's face, "Don't disturb me," and crumpled the letter. Further progress was stopped. "Swaminathan, stand up," said the teacher. Swaminathan stood up faithfully. "What is Lisbon famous for?" asked the teacher. Swaminathan hesitated and ventured, "For being the capital of Spain." The teacher bit his moustache and fired a second question. "What do you know about the Indian climate?" "It is hot in summer and cold in winter." "Stand up on the bench," roared the teacher, and Swaminathan stood up without a protest. The teacher resumed his lessons. Africa was a land of forests. Nile was the most important river there. He selected someone from the first bench to answer this question. Nile was the most important river in Africa. The boy answered promptly, and the teacher was satisfied. What was Nile? The most important river in Africa, a boy answered with enthusiasm, and was instantly snubbed for it, for he had to learn no answer before he was asked to. Swaminathan paid no attention to the rest of the lessons. His mind began to wander. Standing on the bench, he stood well over the whole class. He could see so many heads, and he classified them according to the caps. There were 4 red caps, 25 Gandhi caps, 10 fur caps, and so on. When the work for the days was over, Swaminathan, Mani, and Rajam adjourned to a secluded spot to say what was in their minds. Swaminathan stood between them and acted as the medium of communication. They were so close that they could have heard each other even if they had spoken in whispers. But it was a matter of form between enemies to communicate through a medium. Mani faced Swaminathan steadily and asked, "Are you a man?" Swaminathan turned to Rajam and repeated, "Are you a man?" Rajam flared up and shouted, "Who doubts it?" Swaminathan turned to Mani and said furiously, "Which fool doubts it?" "Have you the courage to prove that you are a man?" asked Mani. Swaminathan turned to Rajam and repeated it. "How?" "How?" repeated Swaminathan to Mani. "Meet me at the river near Nalappa's grove tomorrow evening." "Near Nalappa's grove?" Swaminathan was pleased to echo. "What for?" asked Rajam. "To see if you can break my head." "Oh, to pieces," said Rajam. They gave Swaminathan no time to repeat their words. Rajam shouted in one ear and Mani in the other. "So we may expect you at the river tomorrow," said Swaminathan. "Yes," Rajam promised them. Mani wanted to know if other would come with guards. No, he would not. Rajam promised after denying the very suggestion that he might act otherwise. Next scene comes. Nalappa's grove stood a few yards before them. It was past 6 and the traffic for the day between the banks was over. Swaminathan and Mani were squatting on the sand. They were silent. Mani was staring at the ground with a small wooden club under his arm. He was thinking he was going to throw Rajam into the river. At the sound of cracking of boots, they turned and found that Rajam had come. He has dressed in khaki and carried under his arm an air gun that was given to him a couple of months ago on his birthday. He stood very stiff and said, "Here I am ready." "You are late." "Yes, we will start." Razam shouldered his gun and fired a shot in the air. Mani was startled. He stood still, his club down. "You heard the shot?" asked Razam. "The next is going to be pointed at you if you are keen upon a fight. But this is unfair. I have no gun while you have. It was to be hand to fight." "Then why have you brought your club? You never said anything about it yesterday." Mani hung his head. What have I done to offend you?" asked Razam. "You called me a sneak before someone. That is a lie." There was an awkward pause. "If this is all the cause of your anger, forget it. I won't mind being friends." Nor I," said Mani. Swaminathan gasped with astonishment in spite of his pausing before Mani. He admired Razam intensely and longed to be his friend. Now this was the happiest conclusion to all the unwanted trouble. He danced with joy. Razam lowered his gun and Mani dropped his club to show his goodwill. Razam pulled out of his pocket half a dozen biscuits. The river smiled rumble, the rustling of the people leaves, the half light of the late evening, and the three friends eating and growing with new friendship. Swaminathan felt at perfect peace with the world. So children, if you like the video, please like it, share it and subscribe it and hit the bell icon. Thank you for watching.